Greetings, everybody. It's me, your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and welcome to the first episode in a new series that I'm collaborating with my good buddy Carlin Cook. We've already tackled our horror movie superlatives for the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and that was a lot of fun. But we're going to try something different now, which is also going to be a lot of fun. We're going to debate a wide array of topics for the horror genre. We're still going to have the voting for the public to decide on who they thought had the better argument. I'll have a link to Carlin's channel down in the description below. Just like with the superlatives, after you watch this video, go to Carlin's channel, watch his video on the same topic, go to the community tab on his page, and vote for who you thought had the better argument. Also, please let us know in the comments down below what your stance on this topic is, because we'd love to hear from you. Now, for our first debate, we're actually going to discuss, it's been talked about in the horror genre recently, is the movie Skinamarink good for horror? This is not, is Skinamarink a good movie, but is the movie Skinamarink good for the horror genre? My stance on the subject, I believe yes, the movie Skinamarink is good for the horror genre. Now, I will admit, I did not like this movie. I think it's bad. I didn't think it was good at all. It's way too long. If the movie was like 30 or 40 minutes long and in an anthology, I think it could have been perceived a whole lot better because I just didn't really like it. But that's not what I'm debating. I'm saying that the movie Skinamarink is actually good for the horror genre, because I think it gets people talking about this movie and movies like it. More avant-garde type movies that don't follow a traditional horror plot, experimental, and especially and indie movies. This movie was something different, and while different may not always work, it can work extremely well. Like David Lynch's Eraserhead when that came out. There really weren't any other films like it. When you watch a movie, it's a very odd film, but it works. It's experimental, it's indie, it's just a fantastic movie. Now, I'm not comparing Skinamarink to anything close to, Eraserhead, but movies like this that are, low budget, indie, experimental, they get people talking about the horror genre, because there's some amazing movies that are experimental and indie, low budget, that they may not have had a chance to be seen since they can't afford to promote the film. When you step away from cookie cutter slashers and monster films, you can really, create something wonderful. There could be a filmmaker out there right now that's motivated to make a movie better than Skinamarink, that's experimental, that's indie, that's low budget. They could be looking at this movie and like, I think I can do that, because right now, Skinamarink is very successful. I believe it's made over $2 million on a $15,000 budget. They could be thinking, you know what? I can make a movie better than that. And recently, a lot of filmmakers have turned to Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaigns to actually finance their movies. So, and I think Skinamarink did bring attention to experimental indie filmmakers. Some of the greatest horror films throughout decades have been low budget, independent films. John Carpenter's Halloween was a low-budget independent film. Same as Night of the Living Dead, Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch Project, One Cut of the Dead. All very successful films. Then again, I'm not comparing Skinamarink to those films, not at all. But without films like that, they wouldn't have inspired some indie filmmakers to try and make a film. And I think Skinamarink can do that. Whether you like it or not, it was something different. It got people talking. Some people really, really love it, and some people just really hate it. But when you get people talking about the horror genre and when it can inspire people, I think that's fantastic. Now, not all people who, create an indie movie that's low budget, experimental is going to be successful. Just, I can give lists and lists of bad movies out there, but inspiring young filmmakers, I think, is something great for horror. Some like, hey, just to motivate them. I think that's really good. And I think Skinamarink can do that. It was definitely experimental, I would say, because it was all kind of like a first-person, found footage, I should say, type of film. The shots were all, there was really, shots in the corners. It was low lighting, mumbling sounds. It did give you a sense of dread. So we're talking about the film itself. It did kind of bring a sense of dread. I just think it was too long, but it's going to show filmmakers that, hey, maybe I can do that. Let me try and make this film, this wacky idea that I had for a film. Now, off the top of my head, I don't know the creator of Skinamarink, but I would be safe to say that they looked at some other, low budget experimental indie films and were inspired by it. And I think Skinamarink can do that. The horror genre really doesn't get a lot of love and respect. Like if you look at the not the Grammys, duh. If you look at the Oscars and like the Golden Globes and stuff, there's never really a horror genre. Horror films really don't get that much love, which is a shame because if you're watching this video, obviously you love the horror genre as much as I do, and there's amazing, amazing horror films out there. So anytime you can get people talking about movies like Skinamarink, and people are talking about, hey, where can I go watch it? Oh, Shudder. Somebody can just newly aspire to freaking subscribe to Shudder as a streaming service because they wanted to watch Skinamarink. Then they could find a catalog of just amazing horror films out there. Like I said, Skidamaring's not a good movie in my opinion, but when it gets people talking, it brings attention to the horror genre. It can inspire young filmmakers to make, maybe there is a filmmaker out there right now who watched Skinamarink and they could be like, you know what? Maybe they can make the next One Cut of the Dead, the next Paranormal Activity, the next Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Maybe not, but maybe so. Maybe inspire young filmmakers to try something that hasn't been done before. To do that experimental, low budget indie film that can just blow up like Paranormal Activity or the Blair Witch Project did. And I think that's a really good thing, especially for the horror genre. So I think that's about should cover everything. I want to thank you for watching. Now, please go to Carlin's channel for his side of the debate. Again, I'll have a link to his channel in the description. And just like with the superlatives, he'll have a poll up on the community tab on his page. And we need to vote for who you thought had a better argument. Just don't vote if you think Skinamarink was a good movie or a bad movie, but listen to his argument. You heard my argument, and just vote on who you thought had the better argument. Much appreciated, and I would love to hear what you think about this topic down below. And also, let me know if you actually liked or disliked Skinamarink, but I would love to hear your stance on this topic. Do you think Skinamarink was a good movie for the horror genre? I really appreciate you watching. I will see you here on Friday for my next Nails in the Coffin series, where I am covering all the Puppet Master films. Those are a ton of fun. I hope to see you there. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. And take care of yourselves. Be good to each other. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete. And remember, with great kills, there must also come great nails.